So Andy was a real great natural leader, even though he wasn't formally a producer on the show and formerly a writer. He was a tremendous contributor.
The Andy Griffith Show may have gone off the air in 1968, but that hasn't stopped people from loving it and remaining curious about all the behind-the-scenes antics. Well, that lightning, what about that? A dog can't get struck by lightning. However, there were quite some moments that a lot of fans have been ignorant about, which gives the show a different perspective. As Ron Howard finally speaks up about Andy, the acclaimed lovable star of the show, what did Ron Howard reveal? What secret truths have been uncovered about Andy offset? Join us as we expose how Ron Howard finally speaks up about Andy Griffith. Not that Andy wrote, he wasn't he wasn't even, didn't have a producer credit. How was Andy in his career and personal relationships? Now, at 70, Ron Howard finally reveals what we've all been curious about, from set secrets to the relationships among the stars, who disliked whom and why, and what happened after the series ended. Which moment did Ron Howard dislike the most? Did he hate anyone on set? Keep watching to find out. The Andy Griffith Show, an iconic American sitcom, starred Andy Griffith and Don Knotts. It aired for 8 seasons on CBS from October 3, 1960, to April 1, 1968. The first 59 episodes were broadcast in black and white, while the last 90 episodes were in color. Throughout its run, the show consistently ranked high in the Nielsen ratings, never falling below 7th place and holding the number 1 spot when it ended. Set in the fictional town of Mayberry, North Carolina, the Andy Griffith Show focused on Sheriff Andy Taylor, played by Andy Griffith. The sheriff's wise and common-sense approach to life and law enforcement always managed to thwart the petty criminals causing trouble in his town. Much of his effort was devoted to protecting the townsfolk from becoming victims of their own follies. The show cleverly taps into popular stereotypes of rural and small-town life. Mayberry is predominantly inhabited by folks embodying the simplicity often associated with country living. Characters like gas station attendant Gomer Pyle, portrayed by Jim Nabors, and the town drunk Otis, played by Hal Smith, add to the charm. Otis's routine of locking himself in jail after a drinking spree and letting himself out when he's sober became a familiar part of the show. Sheriff Taylor's eager but clumsy cousin, Deputy Barney Fife, portrayed by Don Knotts, serves as his hapless sidekick. Barney's well-intentioned yet misguided tactics often worsen the situations they face. Knotts' portrayal earned him 4 Emmy Awards before he left the show in 1965, replaced by Jack Burns. The show frequently delves into Taylor's role as a single parent to his son Opie, played by Ron Howard, who loves fishing. Another recurring concern is Taylor's supervision of his unmarried aunt and housekeeper, Aunt Bee, portrayed by Frances Bavier. The Andy Griffith Show was part of a broader trend in 1960s television, which emphasized comedic and light-hearted country themes and characters. The series spawned 2 spin-offs, namely Gomer Pyle, which aired from 1964 to 1969, and Mayberry RFD, which ran from 1968 to 1971. Even though the Andy Griffith Show ended in 1968, it still holds a special place in people's hearts, with fans remaining curious about the off-screen antics. Surprisingly, the wholesome 1960s classic had its fair share of mischief, often instigated by none other than the show's lead, Andy Griffith. Andy was quite the prankster despite portraying the straight-laced character on screen. Griffith had a mischievous side. One of his favorite tricks was to wake up his co-star Don Knotts from a nap by dropping a metal film canister onto the floor. But Andy wasn't the only one who fell victim to pranks. Did you and Mom have that deep-down kind? Yes, son, we did. George Lindsay once discovered duck guts strung around his dressing room, courtesy of Griffith. The cast got their revenge by stealing Andy's shoes, leaving him no choice but to wear his oversized sheriff boots home from the studio. The good-natured humor among the cast spilled over into the show's episodes. In one memorable instance from the Runaway Kid episode, Opie and his friends played a prank on Sheriff Taylor by moving his car in front of a fire hydrant, setting him up for a parking ticket. What were the fun facts about the show, and who stood by Andy's side till Don Knotts' death? One of the most iconic TV theme songs belongs to the Andy Griffith Show. For years, many of us recognized it simply as a catchy whistle without realizing it had lyrics or even a title. But the most interesting truth is that it does, and it's called The Fishing Hole. As beautiful as the lyrics are, Andy Griffith himself originally performed the opening song. Yes, I have a home in North Carolina, Johnny, and I get down several times a year. I was down last summer, all summer. Griffith recorded a full version of the theme, which was composed in under 15 minutes by Herbert Spencer and Earl Hagen. Everyone knew Andy Griffith and Don Knotts to be inseparable, both on and off the screen. Their enduring bond traces back to the mid-1950s when fate brought them together in New York City during the production of the Broadway play No Time for Sergeants. In the movie, Don made his Broadway debut portraying Corporal Manuel Dexterity, sharing the stage with Andy, who played the lead role of the country bumpkin Will Stockdale. Their camaraderie stood the test of time, transcending decades. Even in Don Knotts' final days in 2006, Andy remained by his side. Why was Andy never comfortable with on-screen romance, and what was the solution brought to make him comfortable? Andy Griffith was never comfortable with on-screen romance throughout the show's run. Andy had various romantic interests, but his first on-screen love affair was with Ellie Walker, played by Eleanor Donahue. Eleanor Donahue appeared in 12 episodes as pharmacist Ellie Walker, even earning a mention in the opening credits. Initially intended as a romantic interest for Sheriff Andy Taylor, Eleanor requested to be released from her 3-year contract after just 1 season. Her decision stemmed from a lack of chemistry with Andy Griffith. Griffith himself acknowledged his difficulty in expressing affection on screen, resulting in a relationship that felt insincere. Consequently, Eleanor's character vanished from the show without explanation. During the filming of the Andy Griffith Show's opening credits in the summer of 1960 at Franklin Camp near Beverly Hills, there was a hiccup. The scene required Andy and Opie to stroll along a dirt road with their fishing gear and for Opie to toss a rock into the water. However, 6-year-old Ron Howard, who played Opie, couldn't quite manage the throw. Given Ron's age and strength limitations, the crew had to improvise. The final solution was a clever prop man who hid in the bushes and skillfully tossed the rock into the water at just the right moment, creating the magic illusion that Opie had thrown it. What was the reason Barney stopped showing up in the Andy Griffith Show, and what more was hidden from fans about Andy's temperament? The real reason Barney Fife never really showed up after season 5 was tied to Andy Griffith's original vision for the series. When the Andy Griffith Show initially debuted, Andy Griffith shared with Don Knotts and the rest of the cast his intention for the series to last only 5 seasons. Consequently, everyone signed contracts for that duration. As the 5th season approached its end, Don began exploring other opportunities and promptly secured a deal with Universal for 5 films. However, plans took a turn when sponsors and network executives convinced Andy to reconsider, leading to the unexpected continuation of the show beyond its originally intended duration. It ended up extending not just for a 6th season but also for a 7th and 8th, much to everyone's surprise. Andy and Annetta from the Andy Griffith Show had a little fling of their own. Portraying on-screen lovers sparked a bit of real-life chemistry between Andy Griffith and Annetta Corsott, who played Helen Crump on the show. Initially intended for just 1 episode, the writers decided to give her character a humorous last name as a playful touch. However, Annetta's outstanding performance unexpectedly made her a favorite among the producers. Annetta also caught the eye of Andy Griffith himself, who reportedly developed feelings for the young actress. Despite Andy being married, rumors circulated about a clandestine romance between them. While kept under wraps on set, the gossip eventually leaked out and spread rapidly. Helen Crump was temporary at first. Annetta Corsott, known for her role as Helen Crump on the Andy Griffith Show, was initially planned to make just a single appearance. As a playful twist, the writers gave her character a humorous last name. However, Annetta's impressive portrayal exceeded expectations, quickly earning her favor with the producers. Rumors swirled about a romantic involvement between Annetta and the married Andy Griffith, who allegedly began an affair with the actress. Additionally, Griffith reportedly insisted that Annetta's character become a series regular for the remainder of the show. It's always February in Floyd's shop. Floyd the barber, known for his leisurely pace and sometimes forgetful demeanor, was a beloved character in the fictional town of Mayberry. He made his debut in the episode The Marshal in Stranger in Town. As the series progressed, Floyd's significance grew, with actor Howard McNear adjusting his delivery to portray Floyd as increasingly slow and absent-minded. Additionally, Floyd became more integral to the various plotlines as the show evolved. A curious detail in Floyd's barber shop is the perpetually stuck calendar, always displaying the month of February. It's unclear whether this was a deliberate choice to highlight Floyd's forgetfulness or simply an overlooked inconsistency in the set design. Andy owned 50% of the show. Sheldon Leonard, producer of The Danny Thomas Show, along with Danny Thomas himself, enlisted the talents of seasoned comedy writer Arthur Stander to develop a pilot for Andy Griffith. This pilot would feature Griffith as a justice of the peace and newspaper editor in a quaint small town. Griffith, already a well-known figure from Broadway, film, and radio, expressed interest in trying his hand at television. The William Morris Agency suggested Griffith's rural background and previous roles suited him for the part. Despite primarily focusing on film at the time, Griffith was intrigued by the television opportunity. However, he insisted on owning 50% of the show's rights before committing. After negotiations between Leonard and Griffith in New York, Griffith traveled to Los Angeles to film the pilot episode. By the time of his passing, Andy Griffith's net worth was estimated at around $35 million. Andy broke his hand when he punched a wall. Despite his reputation as a prankster, Andy Griffith had a lesser-known fiery side to his temperament. During the filming of the second season, Griffith's frustration boiled over, leading him to punch a wall. Unfortunately, this outburst resulted in several fractured fingers. Griffith's hand injury not only damaged the set but also required extensive bandaging to continue filming. To integrate this mishap into the show's storyline, the producers and writers concocted a backstory where Andy sustained the injury while apprehending a group of formidable criminals. This creative solution allowed the bandaged hand to seamlessly blend into the plot of the episode. Don Knotts worked without a contract. Believe it or not, there was a chance Barney Fife might have been a one-episode wonder. When Don Knotts joined the cast, he was among a few without a signed contract. On the first day, he got down and saw Maris Evans putting on a play on Broadway called No Time for Sergeants. However, after witnessing his on-screen chemistry with Andy, the producers wasted no time in offering him a one-year deal. It's hard to picture the Andy Griffith Show without the lovable Barney. Floyd retired on and off the screen due to ongoing health issues. Following a stroke, actor Howard McNear was eventually written out of the show. Floyd the Barber made his final appearance on the Andy Griffith Show in the last episode of the 7th season. In the storyline, it was revealed that Floyd had retired, having accumulated enough wealth. Tragically, shortly after his departure from the series, Howard passed away. To address the void left by Howard's absence, a new character named Emmett Clark, portrayed by veteran character actor Paul Hartman, was introduced. Emmett, a skilled fix-it man, set up shop in Floyd's former barbershop location in Mayberry, attempting to fill the void left by Floyd's departure. Andy and Barney were originally cousins. In the early episodes of the series, Andy and Barney jokingly referred to each other as cousins, poking fun at the tradition of small-town government positions being handed out to relatives. However, as their chemistry on screen became evident, their relationship was reimagined as that of childhood friends. Throughout the series, the writers inserted hints to suggest that Barney may not actually be directly related to the Taylors. Additionally, in porch dialogues, Aunt Bee herself reminded Andy on several occasions that Barney was just a friend and had no blood ties to either of them. In the episode Cousin Virgil, Andy meets Barney's backward cousin, who clearly isn't related to the sheriff. Despite any genetic connections, Andy and Barney are depicted as best friends who grew up together in Mayberry. Andy was originally intended to be the comic. When the show first debuted, the original plan was for Andy Griffith to take on the role of the comedic lead, cracking jokes and providing the humor while the other characters played straight roles. However, once Don Knotts showcased his innate comedic talent, it became clear that Barney should be the funny man opposite Andy's straight man persona. The dynamic worked so well that it was decided to reverse the roles, making the show even funnier. As Andy Griffith recalled in various interviews, he quickly realized by the second episode that Don Knotts was better suited for the comedic role while he himself should play the straight man. Don Knotts also shared a little trick he employed as an actor, rooted in their special chemistry. He mentioned in an interview that sometimes he could see when Andy's eyes were just trying to keep from laughing, which would help him try and make it even funnier. This mutual appreciation and understanding between the two actors contributed greatly to the success of their on-screen partnership. But sadly, they quit some distance ahead of their careers. To prevent audience fatigue, the producers of The Andy Griffith Show wisely decided to conclude it after the 8th season. Throughout its run, the series consistently ranked high in the Nielsen ratings, never falling below 7th place. In fact, it achieved the remarkable feat of being one of only 3 shows to end its run at the top of the chart, alongside I Love Lucy and Seinfeld. Andy and Frances never struck the right chord. Despite the general fondness Andy Griffith and Aunt Bee shared for each other on screen, their relationship off-screen was quite the opposite. Frances Bavier, who portrayed Aunt Bee, considered herself a serious dramatic actress and found Andy Griffith's constant joking and pranking irritating. However, years later, Andy and Frances reconciled. Frances reached out to Andy to apologize for the conflicts between them just months before her passing. Fortunately, they were able to mend fences and part on amicable terms. Griffith and Knotts were the opposite of their characters in real life. Griffith and Knotts, both hailing from rural backgrounds, found fame as humorists in the 1950s through stand-up comedy. Their collaboration on the Broadway hit No Time for Sergeants further solidified their partnership. Transitioning to television with The Andy Griffith Show, they became an iconic comedy duo, their chemistry evident in perfectly timed exchanges and recurring gags. One of the show's biggest mysteries was Opie. A 6-year-old at the start of the series, Opie resides in the quaint fictional town of Mayberry, North Carolina. His household consists of his widowed father, Andy Taylor, who serves as the sheriff of Mayberry County, and his father's unmarried aunt, affectionately known as Aunt B. Throughout the series, Opie's mother is only mentioned once, in an episode titled Wedding Bells for Aunt B. In a moment of nostalgia, Andy reminisces with Opie about his deep affection for his late wife. Despite this brief mention, viewers never learn more about her or catch a glimpse of her photograph. However, in an episode of The Danny Thomas Show, from which the Andy Griffith Show originated, Andy reveals that she passed away when Opie was just a tiny infant. However, the pickle story also holds a special place in fans' hearts, and it's easy to see why. It's consistently ranked as the #1 favorite episode of the entire series. Don Knotts later revealed how much fun it was to film this episode, undoubtedly contributing to the laughter it generated among viewers. But what were the most hated moments? Ron picked from the Andy Griffith Show, and how did he handle those challenging moments? Ron Howard picks the most hated moment with Andy. Despite his fondness for sitcoms, Ron Howard encountered one of the toughest moments in his early television career while filming The Andy Griffith Show. Ron Howard finally speaks up about Andy Griffith. Talking to Andy, and then Andy would, he always called Don Jesse. Yeah, and he would say, "Jesse, we're short." Playing Opie, the lovable red-headed boy on the show, Howard faced a particularly daunting challenge in an episode called The Pickle Story. The storyline revolves around Aunt B, played by Frances Bavier, attempting to make a large batch of pickles, many of which Opie ends up eating. While this might seem like a simple task for most actors, Howard found it exceptionally tough due to his strong dislike for pickles, which he compared to kerosene. Even though he couldn't stand the taste of pickles, Howard's portrayal of Opie's reaction fits seamlessly into the show's narrative. Aunt B's less-than-appetizing pickles required minimal acting from Howard, as his genuine distaste mirrored Opie's experience. Looking back on the episode later in his career, Howard recalled the challenge he faced, admitting that he absolutely hated pickles. Taking bites of those pickles was a huge ordeal. It was not enjoyable, to say the least. But where are the rest of the cast members from The Andy Griffith Show, and what is their current life like? The director of How the Grinch Stole Christmas once noted that Howard's friendly relationship with Griffith mirrored his interactions with the crew. He recalled how Howard's input was respected, even though he was a young actor. While Ron was still refining his acting skills in those early years, he also showed a strong interest in the entire creative process behind the scenes. Looking back at the amicable careers of the main actors from The Andy Griffith Show following its iconic run, it's important to honor those who have passed. Among them are Ron Howard, Frances Bavier, Jim Nabors, Annetta Corsott, Hal Smith, George Lindsay, and, of course, Don Knotts. Yet, there's one cast member whose post-series life stands out above all others, namely, director Ron Howard. During his stint on The Andy Griffith Show, Ron Howard showcased his versatility by appearing in other notable projects. He starred in the musical film The Music Man in 1962 and the comedy The Courtship of Eddie's Father in 1963. However, it was his role as Steve Bolander in the iconic coming-of-age film American Graffiti in 1973 that further solidified his reputation. In 1974, Howard skyrocketed to fame with his portrayal of teenager Richie Cunningham in the beloved sitcom Happy Days, which enjoyed a successful 7-year run. Throughout his career, Ron Howard has garnered numerous accolades, including the prestigious National Medal of Arts. His contributions to television earned him a spot in the Television Hall of Fame in 2013, and he boasts 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. It's safe to say that Opie has made quite a name for himself. After The Andy Griffith Show, Frances Bavier decided to make North Carolina her permanent home instead of returning to her native New York City. In 1972, she retired from acting and purchased a house in Siler City, North Carolina. Explaining her choice to live in North Carolina, Bavier expressed her fondness for the picturesque landscapes, remarking, "I fell in love with North Carolina, all the pretty roads and the trees." Throughout her life, Bavier remained single and childless. An article by Chip Waller, published in the Courier-Tribune in 1981, highlighted Bavier's active involvement in promoting charitable causes like the Christmas and Easter Seal Societies from her home in Siler City. Additionally, she often took the time to pen inspirational letters to fans who reached out for autographs. Jim Nabors, known for his role as Gomer Pyle on The Andy Griffith Show, gained immense popularity, leading to his own spin-off show, Gomer Pyle, USMC. Besides his acting, Nabors showcased his rich baritone singing voice on various variety shows throughout the 1960s and 1970s, often appearing as a guest. He even headlined his own specials in 1969 and 1974, captivating audiences with his talent. Nabors went on to record numerous albums and singles, with many featuring romantic ballads. In 2013, neighbors publicly came out as gay and celebrated his long-standing relationship by marrying his partner of 38 years. Reflecting on their journey together, he expressed that he was not ashamed of the over 12-year age gap between them, as long as he loved his partner. What do you love about The Andy Griffith Show, and what is your perspective on Ron Howard's most challenging moments on the show? Share your thoughts with us in the comment section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen, you will enjoy it.